We marvel over the Word of God because of how precious it is, but how much wisdom that it gives us. In the Bible, we have a particular book that I think is amazing when we think about what it can produce for us. When we think about wise counsel, we'll think, well, you're going to have to live a few years. You're going to have to experience a few things. You'll have to be trying things and they fail, and when you get to be a certain age, then maybe you can give wise counsel. In the New Testament, newly planted people were not to be elders, were not to be overseeing the flock. There was maturity that was needed. But that doesn't mean that a lack of years and experience, we do not have wisdom to guide us. And we think about people of age who have experienced things. The Word of God helps us to filter the experiences that are in accordance with God's will and those that we've just learned out here in the world. You may be worldly wise, but you may not be someone that we need to go seek counsel at your feet just because you have worldly wisdom. We live before God and we realize God has the answers, and I want us to see this evening how great that wisdom is for both the young and for the mature, those who have had years of experience. That somebody could come to your house, could say, I'd like to talk to you about things that I am thinking about, and because you have exercised yourself in the Word of God, and in particular this evening, the book of Proverbs, that you could give wise counsel for a lot of different subjects. It's very broad, and I want to see how broad it is in the time that we have this evening. But if you were young and you have the Word of God implanted into your heart, somebody may not be coming to your house and asking for wise counsel because you're not of age yet, but your peers may. The people that are your age, they may see how you live and they may think, what do you think about this? And because you are reading and studying and meditating upon the Word of God, especially the book of Proverbs, you can give wise counsel. What's the purpose for the book of Proverbs? Well, for those who are the simple, lack of experience in time, the young people in the book of Proverbs. The Bible says in Proverbs 1 and verse 4, this is the reason for the Proverbs. It's pointing to the benefit of the young, to give prudence, knowledge, and discretion. We're going to look at all three of those words and apply it tonight. To give prudence is the idea that you can escape. A word denotes nakedness. That you can be so naked that you could slip through the wiles of another and avoid the consequences because you were prudent in your decision. You may have not had the experience, that's why you're simple. But you, with the Word of God, you're able to avoid those problems. The word knowledge, it is denoting that experiential knowledge rather, where, well, I haven't lived this. God points it out for you. You don't have to live the heartache of making the wrong decision. You can experience it in the book of Proverbs and avoid the wrong way. Knowledge. And discretion. It is to give you such insight into things that you avoid those particular pitfalls that come your way. But what about those who have understanding, who have lived a little bit? The very next verse says, Proverbs is for you too, that the wise man may hear and increase in learning, and that the man of understanding may attain unto sound counsel. That they are looking at life, they're experiencing life, but they also have increased in the learning of God so they can give you wise counsel. And that's the way we should grow up in the Lord. That is the way we should spend our life. I would hope that we would be that type of person in the top of our years of maturity, where we can truly give wise counsel. Let's look at the young. Prudence. Turn with me to Proverbs, the 7th chapter. In Proverbs 7, the whole chapter is dealing with hearkening to the wisdom of God regarding the woman who's wily. And this young man who is simple, hasn't had the experiences in life, he goes near her corner. She's a married woman, but she's not being faithful to her husband. And we find, verse 8, passing through the street near her corner, and he went the way to her house. Now here are the wiles, and this man in this passage does not escape it. There met him a woman with the attire of a harlot. So there is the attraction of the sexual connection of a woman with this young man or this simple man. And right off the bat, there's that appearance. She's clamorous, she's willful, her feet abide not in her house. She's in the streets now in the broad places. She lieth in wait at every corner. For some simpleton, he doesn't have, he's not stupid. He's just inexperienced. And he comes by. She caught him and kissed him. And with an impudent face, strong, bold, said unto him, sacrifices and peace offerings are with me. This day have I paid my vows, therefore came forth to meet thee. Diligently to seek thy face, and I found thee. I have spread my couch with tapestries, with carpets of tapestry, with striped clothes of the yarn of Egypt. I perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. For the man is not at home. Husband's not here. He's gone on a long journey. He had taken a bag of money with him. He'll come home at the full moon. And with her much fair speech, she causeth him to yield. With a flattering of her lips, she forceth him along, until straightway, as an ox goeth to the slaughter, as one in fetters in the correction of the fool, till an arrow pass strike through his liver. That's a deadly blow, by the way. And the bird hasteth to the snare, and knoweth not that it's far his life. Adultery, fornication, you're not going to heaven practicing those things. And here's a woman that when he gets to the end of all of the things she uses to attract this man, he straightway gives in. But we know the pathway. She appealed to his religious connection, peace offerings, and you were to not allow that peace offering that you offered. You were to eat it at home, and you were not allowed to stay until the morning. So he knew that. I'll just help her with the peace offerings. She appealed to his sense of danger. Husband's not at home. Nobody ever know this. She appealed to his sense of smell, the perfume, the aroma. She appealed to his sense of elegance, tapestries of Egypt and all those wonderful things. All of that was in place to bring him along as an ox going to his slaughter. Now, young people, when you read that, you're coming into dealing with the opposite sex and you have these desires, those are normal. But you've got wise counsel, and you didn't have to have somebody take you down that road. You let God do it. And you begin to see, how can I escape the end result, that this is not pleasing God? You don't sit there and argue at the moment that you're in her house, in her room, and the smell and the aroma, and all the things that are bombarding you. You determine that on those days that you're studying the Proverbs and you realize the wise way is to never go near her corner. Joseph just escaped when he had no other alternative. She came after him. He just runs. Flee fornication. That's what God says. And what happens is that you have prudence. And as he got naked with this lady, you could have been naked in your mind and escaped the trouble because you were prudent. He didn't do that. But see, you can always be watchful. I want to serve God. I want to please God. And so I'm going to have prudence where many a young person has failed. Well, what about knowledge? This is experimental, and we get experience of the things, but this is an insight in how things work. And we go to Proverbs 23, and we see that here is the drug of alcohol. And many a young person today is dabbling into that. Younger and younger people are in experiencing the effects of alcohol. It's a popular thing to do. Has a lot of factors going for it, but see, Proverbs 23 asks you the question, who has redness of eyes? Who has sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath complaining? Oh, my head hurts, boy. Who hath wounds without cause? It says, they that tarry long at the wine, and they that go out to seek out mixed wine. And so he gives us some wisdom. But here is the way things work. In this day and time, you had to tarry long at wine to be intoxicated by it. There were no distilleries. It was just the natural process of the fruit turning to sugar and the process to produce alcohol. It was an alcoholic drink. And he says at the first, here's the questions. Who has it? And my first thing is, I don't want to be one that has contentions. I don't want to be in a brawl, a fight at 2 in the morning. But here's experience, here's knowledge, here's how alcohol works. And it works on our brain. We're not able to control the car, and there are always those lines, when am I had too much, and I'm going to be a responsible drinker. Young people, you're living in this world where the beer companies and the liquor companies are trying to make you a very responsible drinker. So you won't be killing people on the road. And all the while they're selling the very thing that hampers your sense of judgment, your inhibitions, so many things connected with it. And here's some knowledge you need to know. The contentions, the redness of eyes, the complaining. So his wisdom is, look not upon the wine when it is red, and when it sparkleth in the cup. When its first effects, it goes down smoothly. There's nothing wrong with this. There's no thing about that. But at the end, it bites like a serpent. It stings like an adder. Your eyes behold strange things, and thy heart shall utter perverse things. You have no inhibitions. How did God know that? He's just telling us this is the way it is. And it will never change. This book will always be relevant to us. And what you'll do, you'll put yourself in dangerous situations. Thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as he that lieth upon the top of a mast. Your sense of judgment and all those things are out the window. You put yourself in dangerous places. And they've stricken me, shalt thou say, I was not hurt. I never felt that. They beat me and I felt it not. Here's the thing. When shall I wake? I will seek it yet again. That's the way it works too. The effects of it left. I'm still here. I may have caused great pain to people last night, but I'm all right. I'm sure my buddies will be going out next weekend as well. And so you go back to it and go back to it. And we said, how foolish. But you have some insight in things of how things are indeed are working so you can avoid this pitfall that so many people get involved with. Now I think if you were to ask of the older ones, if you've lived long enough, and you get through high school, you'll probably have classmates. Some of them don't make it to college because they're dead, because of alcohol-related situations and they've been involved with. But boy, we praise the drink in our society. A wise young person is not going to be looking on it and staying long at it as we see these people did. They said, I don't want any part of that. I know where it leads to. I want to live wisely. And you can offer that same type of wisdom to others as well. You have an insight beyond your years, and you didn't have to experience hangovers, lost jobs, ruined relationships, death, mangling of the body. You didn't have to experience that to come to a knowledge, hey, alcohol is a dangerous thing. Better stay away from it. And from the standpoint of just this, I'm not talking about what a Christian should be doing, because our influence kicks in there. I'm just talking about, I know how it works on the brain. See perverse things. All of that is the effects of alcohol. So when it's sparkling, I know where it leads to. I'm going to not be looking at it that way. I see where it leads to, and I'm going to stay away from it. Because I have knowledge. Sex and alcohol. Two things that young people are being confronted with all the time. You already have an insight of the wisdom of God about it and how to avoid that. What about discretion? Proverbs, the first chapter, he speaks about that. A circumspection, looking around you, seeing things and thinking about your own attitude toward things. And I want us to see this. I've used this a lot of times, and I think it fits with people joining gangs and young people doing that. In places I've preached, they've had problems with gangs, and we've dealt with that there's a sense of wanting to belong to a family that a lot of people do not have. And so they join the gangs. They have their own colors. They're so close, and they care for one another because they didn't have a family like that. But here's the book of Proverbs answering that. But I want us to see at the end what he's really pointing to. It's not necessarily gang activity, but we could talk about the idea of the power of peer pressure. I think that's involved here, but that's not the point he drives at either. But he deals with this. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us look privily for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as Sheol, and whole as those that go down into the pit. There's almost a sense of being excited. We're going to kill someone tonight. They're going to go alive down into Sheol and lay wait for blood. He said, well, that gangs kind of do that sometime, but he's speaking about that. He says, and we shall find all precious substance and fill our houses with spoil. There he is. We're going to rob people, kill them, and we're going to share in the proceeds. And there's the enticement, and there's a father speaking to his son, don't be enticed by that. And he tries to draw him to the conclusions. He says, for their feet run to evil. They make haste to shed blood. Son, don't you know they're going to kill people tonight? You won't be a part of that. But he says, you know what? In vain is the net spread in the sight of any bird. You're not seeing this. And these lie wait for their own blood. That's worked with gang activity. Those who say, I'll kill for anything, will eventually die for anything. And that's what happens when people join gangs. They lie wait for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives. Now here's what he's driving at. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy for gain. It taketh away the life of the owners thereof. What's the circumspection that you need to think about? Greed. In the 80s, greed is good in our country. And I don't think it's stopped. I want more and more and more. But here we have it in the context of painting a picture of, I don't care how I get it. If I have to kill and rob and everybody else is doing it, I'll be right there. But the heart of the problem is greedy for gain. It'll take the life out of you. Because you'll be doing things that you normally should do. Don't you know they're killing people for that? And the circumspection is, I'll look at myself. Am I greedy for gain? Oh, I'll give in to peer pressure. I will maybe do things I normally wouldn't do. And I'm lying wait for my own blood because I joined the gang and all of those things and drug activities. But really, the idea of greed is in my heart. And it leads me to do things that will take the life out of me. It'll cause you to lose your soul. I know that. So here's the young person. And they haven't had a lot of years on this earth. But they know about money and greed connected with those things. They have an insight into the effects of alcohol and the wiles of the opposite sex by reading 3 chapters out of Proverbs. And I wonder how many young people today, tonight, in this country that has been ruined by one of those 3 things, or a combination of them. He said, where did you get that wise counsel? I got it from Proverbs. I got it from God. Counsel is also for the mature. And I want to look at these in the time that we have. We're living life, we're growing older in our age, and there are times when we have to be dealing with things that maybe on the surface, those who haven't had the experience haven't had to deal with. But sometimes you're going to be dealing with people who are foolish. And you're going to have to understand and have some wisdom. When do I engage a fool in his wording and how he's looking at things? Should I be quiet or should I speak? I say yes to both of them because of what God teaches us. Answer a fool according to his folly in verse 5, but in verse 4, answer not a fool according to his folly. It might take someone with a little more years of maturity to realize there are times when I need to speak. In regard to a fool, there's a time when I might need to be silent. And there's wisdom on both accounts. What would help me to not answer? You're going to be just like them. You're going to be thinking down the avenue of just foolish talk. Let it go and let people see for themselves. Don't be engaged in that, because you're going to be looking just like them. When a fool has no basis for his argument, and so he hollers and yells, and you get all worked up and you yell right back, you're going to be just like him. And you have no basis for your argument either. But there's a time when you do to answer a fool according to his folly. Why? So he doesn't walk away lest he be wise in his own conceit. Because sometimes foolish things are just foolish, and they think it's so deep and so wise. I mean, the classic one I've always thought about was when people said there's no God, because I've been to space. I'm a Russian astronaut, cosmonaut. I've never seen God up there in the heavens. Well, I never see electricity, but you going to stick a knife in those sockets over there? That would be a very foolish thing to do. So what's your argument? And there's a time that maybe that needs to be spoken. And so there is that time in which maturity says, I'm going to think about that. And you think about your own experiences, how that verse indeed works. And you build upon that. It's not to let foolish people walk around with conceit and thinking, well, there is no God, and therefore there's no answer. You've got an answer for it. And sometimes you can turn the foolish argument right back upon them to see how foolish it is. But there's sometimes you don't answer at all. That takes some time. That takes some thought to work through that. But it is wise counsel that you offer. What about raising children? Dealing with discipline, time out. Should I spank? Should I not? Should I spank a 1-year-old? Should I not? And the pressure in society is such that it's criminal to spank. And yet we know God doesn't teach that. Just one passage, he that spareth his rod hates his son. But he that loveth him chasteneth him. Didn't say warn him, chasteneth him. There's the scourge of God, as we saw this morning. And he does that betimes, often, regularly, with wisdom consistently. And that proverb stands when society is changing their views and going back and going forth all the time. You just rock solid. If you love your child, you'll discipline them. And there's just a lot of wisdom. How many people love your children when they're not disciplined in the world? And all of the shame it brings upon the parent. They're not disciplined. They don't know how to behave. There's no restrictions upon them. They haven't had that type of training where they went out of the line and it hurt to bring them back. You can do that with love. You must do that with love. But here's the passage with all the rhetoric. The person who never chastens the child, and it's on not a regular basis, is the one that doesn't love their children at all. And if parents came to you and so what kind of, well, how should I raise up my children? Well, here's some passages, and you could put a lot of them in Proverbs. Because you're seeking the well-being of that child. But that's what we have before God in His Word, and that will never change, and it will always be relevant, and it's always true. You're not going to kill them. You're going to save them. And that's why we discipline our children. What about you see people that say, well, I'm not going to work, and I just want to just to live and enjoy life and all those things. Well, there's some consequences of that. And you've got wisdom on how to be involved in loving your children with discipline, how you ought to answer a fool or not answer a fool, but you also are dealing with people who are not energetic in work, and work is not a priority in their life. Here's a proverb for you. The soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing. Have you ever seen a sluggard in the zoo? They're not pretty, and they're slow, but I don't want to be a sluggard. But it's a picture, something slow and never getting, but I sure do have desire. I've got my dreams. It's what I like to have. This is what I like to be. But they're so lazy that they won't put one hand in front of another, one foot in front of another. And you know what? This is so true. They will desire, but have nothing. On the other hand, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. He'll have plenty. It didn't say he was the smartest person in class. It didn't say he was more intelligent than anybody else in the community. But he just kept plodding and kept working and kept using his time profitably in work. There's just a lot of wise counsel. That passage is needed in so many places in people's lives, especially teenagers. They need to learn that. You want something, you'll always want it. Now let's go work for it. That's a wise daddy. That's a wise mother. Oh, but our words. Proverbs speaks about our speaking, but so I'm just going to lighten up the room with my good words. And I'm going to just make people feel good, because my words should be with grace, and I'm going to lift people up. I'll just give them a good word today. Well, there's more to it than that. In Proverbs 25:20, as one that taketh off a garment in cold weather, and as vinegar upon soda, so is he that singeth songs to a heavy heart. I tell you what they need. Their heart's so heavy, we need to go sing a song to them. I think just a little song, they'll be uplifted. And they just need some joy in their life, and I'm here to give it, because I am a Christian, and I am an encourager. And they're sitting in a hospital room just hearing bad news. I'm going to lift their spirits. It's like bubbling up vinegar on soda. And you're sitting up in Alaska, 20 or 30 degrees below, and they take away your last coat. That's not what they needed. You felt they needed it. It's all about you. Wisdom. I want to lift their spirits, not make myself feel good about what I did today. We need humble servants with the wisdom of God that look at the situation and realize maybe they just need silence from me right now. Maybe they need a hug. Maybe they need someone just to sit with them and cry with them before we get to the good news. Isn't that what verse 11 says? A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a network of silver. That's beautiful. And there's the maturity, and you start thinking, I'll weigh a situation, and maturity says, is this a song that needs to be sung right now to a heavy heart? And you may mean well, you probably do. But see, wisdom, where'd you get that? Well, I think you're just being difficult. I think you're real picky. I don't want, when I'm sick, someone said, I'm going to lift your spirits up whether you like it or not. Do you? Sometimes I may need a song. But maturity and God's wisdom says, I will make it a word fitly spoken. That's when it's beautiful. And there's the words I'm going to speak. Where do you get that? Experience? No, people are usually so polite, they never knew the pain you were causing them. And when you left the room, you felt good about yourself. And it's like they just took your garment when it's cold outside. And you'll probably never know it. Circumspection, wisdom from God is what we're looking at. Well, somebody may be a loner out here, and they come around and realize, what about friendships? Well, I got something to say about that. Friendships have their place. They're wonderful. And it's like iron sharpeneth iron, verse 17 of Proverbs 27. So a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Here are things going against one another. Iron sharpeneth iron. Two peers, two people that have a lot of things in common. They have a friendship. And because of their togetherness, there's a benefit from that. It sharpens our countenance. We benefit from that close association. You might want to have a friend in life. You're a loner. There's some wonderful benefits of having someone close to you. Maybe we could visit together. Maybe we could be friends. But there's a sense of that closeness of friendship and being together that is indeed wonderful and profitable. It was not good for man to be alone, so God created a woman for a man. Doesn't mean that being single is wrong, or being single is just not joy in life, but there is a wonderful thing about companionship and having true friends that you can communicate with on a regular basis, throw ideas out, what do you think about this? And that's a wonderful thing. But at the same time, do you have to go over their house all the time and stay? Proverbs 25 and verse 17 says this about God's wisdom. Yes, I love friends. I want to be with them. But he says, let thy foot be seldom in thy neighbor's house, lest he be weary of thee and hate thee. I know that can really happen because God says so. But they said, you come back anytime, man. I know what they said. Anytime? What about tomorrow? What about the next day? And you're there frequently. And you leave. They say, well, we'll see you later. You can come back anytime. And they just may never let you know they're getting weary of this. We need to have our friends. But here's the wisdom. I'm not going to just overstay my welcome. I know there's a limit, even between friends. And I'm going to wisely put that into my brain, into my life. And I think that's truly wise. Fish stinks after 3 days. Even family does. Sometimes, doesn't it? But that's family. Yeah, but there's a time when you need to go. And that is something showing that type of consideration. I love being with you. Iron sharpeneth iron. But don't go frequently and be staying in your neighbor's house. Proverbs speaks of that too. And sometimes that takes some maturity. That takes some living. And once you have that in your mind, you begin to look and see when those things are violated, how true God's book is. How true it is. Well, tonight we've just looked at a few of looking at what helps a young person and what helps a mature person. It comes from the same book and hits so many aspects of our lives. When we speak about the young person, in Psalm 119, which is extolling God's word, verse 99, The young person knows more than their teachers. That's what it says. They're not smart alecks or anything like that. They just know more than their teachers so often. Why? Because the testimonies of God, that's what they meditate upon. That's how wonderful tuning into God's mind is. Here's the experience of teachers. Here's the knowledge of teachers. He's not discounting that. He's not looking down upon that. And you're not going into their class looking down upon it. But because you have trained yourself meditating upon his testimonies, he testifies, this is how you avoid the wily woman. This is how you avoid the effects of alcohol. This involves the idea of the worldly idea of greed and money and all those things. You protected yourself from that. You have an insight that maybe those teachers do not have. Why? Because you meditate upon the testimonies of God. He's testified this is the truth. That's how you can be wiser than your teachers and have more understanding than they do. God's connected with it. And in Proverbs 16:31, the hoary head is a crown of glory. Why is that? Years of experience. That's a mature individual, the white-headed man. But that passage says, it is a crown of glory, for it is found in the way of righteousness. That's where that hoary head is walking each day. It's found in the way of righteousness. I know a lot of old gray-headed men that are not honorable. They're not walking in the way of righteousness. What gives glory to the older man who can give the wise counsel is a man that has come to the gospel in our time and realized there in the gospel is found the righteousness of God. And they meditate upon it, they think about it, they're dealing with it every day in their lives, they're thinking through things. And they've got some wise things to say to you about life. And why they are glorious is because they are walking in the way of righteousness, and why young people can be said that they have more understanding than their teachers is because they meditate upon the things of God. And Proverbs 9 and verse 10 says, the fear of Jehovah is the beginning of wisdom. That's where you start. God, what do you have to say about it? Reverencing God as our Creator, knowing how wise He is. It's the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. It's not that you've studied the effects of alcohol and you've got all the chemical components and the wily woman and all those things. And no, you've gone to God's Word and you see how they live out practically in life. And you went to God. And because you reverence Him, it unlocks the knowledge of the Holy One. And that's the person that truly has understanding. If they're young, they know more than their teachers. Because you can't get any wiser than God. Teachers can make mistakes. They may know the facts, they may know the history, they may know the course that they're saying. But you know about life sometime better than your teachers. Because you started with the fear of Jehovah, you come to understand Him through His Word. And that's why as you grow older and you are walking the way of righteousness, His Word, that when you get to have a hoary head, the white-headed, older, mature person, it will be a glorious crown upon you. And that is the only way that it will ever be a glorious crown. And so we need to come to God for His wise counsel. And I hope young and mature will do that. in our lives, and we'll dwell. So people say, well, we shouldn't have studied the Old Testament. Now, the Old Testament has a lot of wisdom, and you'll find the principles are not contradicted in the New Testament. We'll look at Ecclesiastes, and it's life under the sun, and it's not contradicting anything in the New Testament when it spreads us out to think about heaven in the spiritual realm. We just know its context, and that's what life is. God has put that and provided for that in the Bible. And we need to take advantage of that. And what I'm saying is that whether you're young or old, you can give wise counsel. And as Christians, may we have that opportunity to do so, because people see Christ living in us. If you haven't started the route of going to heaven through Jesus Christ, if you haven't started the way, we want to encourage you to obey the gospel tonight if you never have done that. And that you can make the great confession that Jesus is the Son of God because you believe it in your heart. And based upon the truth of God, you realize He died for you, He's raised for your justification, and He's the only name wherein you must be saved. And you come to Him in obedience to the gospel. We can baptize you into Christ based upon your confession and your repentance, and you can leave this auditorium a child of God and fill your mind with the knowledge of God, fill your mind with practical wisdom, live it out in your life until heaven be your home. You'll be a blessing to yourself, you'll be a blessing to others. Why not start the life of a Christian as we stand and sing? Please come.